I'm Larry Audis. Obviously, some Oklahomans not totally happy with the economy here in Oklahoma. Still, for the most part, we're told that Oklahomans have pretty much been spared from that dreadful disease of inflation. That may not be totally true. Good example, today's Journal record. City unemployment jumps up to 3.3%. Still low, but it jumps up. Yesterday's Journal record, housing industry in depression, more so than any time in recent memory. Both indications that maybe our economy is not immune from that disease of inflation. The number of new houses under construction may be one of the truest reflections of the economy. In September a year ago, construction began on 531 homes in central Oklahoma. In September of this year, only 284 homes. The first 9 months of 1980, a total of 3,640 homes started. This year, only 3,167. Those figures from Clark Trammell with the Home Builders Association. Clark, what one reason can be given for the fact that fewer homes are being built now?
High interest rates have been the base root of inflation, and between inflation and high interest rates are the basis for people not being able to afford housing.
Another good economic indicator is car sales. Some local dealers say everything is hunky-dory. Maybe. But GM has resorted to a comparatively low 12.9% loan program for citations. Nevertheless, the parking lot at the City Assembly plant is full, and GM will lay off some 2,500 workers next month, so it won't get any fuller. That will force the 3.3% unemployment figure a bit higher. In short, Oklahoma's economy is good, better than most, but still not free from the effects of inflation. Larry Audis, Action 4.
Suppliers that dealt throughout the state of Oklahoma, and it's hard to gauge. Hopefully we will begin to finish this up in 5 or 6 months in this area of the state and the Western District, but it's hard to gauge. It could we could finish most everything up in a few months, or it could take several years.
Every year, different holidays cause many business booms for certain industries. And October 30th and 31st is always a busy time of the year for a place called Hazel's Costumes and Fantasy Factory. All this week, employees have been working overtime, raiding thousands of cotton alter egos for their yearly haunt. It's almost like Christmas, the hustle bustle of people, the looking, the shopping, the fittings, its different shapes and sizes, the characters, the imagination at work. One trip through the store, and you see there are many items to choose from. How many different costumes do you have here?
We have at least 1,000 different costumes in variety and several thousand in rental at this time.
Halloween is your busiest season, right?
Yes, it is a very busy season, although we're busy all year long. With doing recitals and restaurants and clubs, it keeps us busy all year long with the schools also.
What is your most popular mask?
This one here, our dirty old man. And then this one over here.
The masks are either plastic or latex rubber, and many of them are incredibly realistic. They often reflect popular trends and cult figures, but this year there's one that stands out above all the others. Dino Lolly, Action 4.
More than 1,000 Appaloosas are involved in this year's World Championship show. Owners of these magnificent horses come from as far away as Mexico and Canada. This show is considered the Super Bowl for Appaloosas.
This is the World's Championship for Appaloosa horses. It's put on by the Breed Registry, the Appaloosa Horse Club, for the champions of the breed. This is where the world's champions are decided.
The Appaloosa, according to the show manager, is one of the major breeds in the United States.
It is a breed that is very versatile. It's used for all kinds of things. Historically, it is associated with the Nez Perce Indians as an Indian horse, and then as a type of horse in ranch work and cross-country type work and range work. It's a horse, however, that has skills of all kinds of things. You can use them in working cattle, you can use them for strictly pleasure, you can use them, they race, they jump fences, I say chase cows, ride cross-country, ride in a ring through the park. You can do all kinds of things with the Appaloosa.
These horses will be demonstrating their versatility as they compete for various awards. Performances will be held throughout the week. The show will conclude Sunday night. Ben McCain, Action 4 at the State Fairgrounds Arena.
For years, the residents of these tree-shaded homes along North Broadway have enjoyed their quiet neighborhood. Most of the homeowners are now in their golden years, their mortgages paid off. But recently, commercial construction has begun to creep into their neighborhood. A new post office sits across the street from one row of houses, and the Edmond Planning Commission has recommended the neighborhood be rezoned for commercial use as part of the city's downtown redevelopment district. Tonight, the Edmond City Council heard from area residents who both support and oppose that plan.
I would like to see my little home, my little 1 lot and 10 feet, smashed down and some business place put there. I want to keep my little home.
If this area is to be targeted for redevelopment, what is to prevent an entire parcel to be declared absolutely essential for, say, such things as a parking garage? Then what? I'll tell you what. Out go these targeted few people. Go where? Does City Council care? Does anyone care?
I don't find anything in this ordinance or anything that's been proposed to this point that in fact is going to do anything but protect the property owners in that area. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't be voting for it. Now, I find that what we're trying to do here in a way of protecting the people you're talking about, I find that I think your statement is very misleading.
The rest of the council agreed with the mayor. The vote to rezone the area for commercial use was unanimous. Scott Wallace, Action 4 in Edmond. The $30 million would be used to build 4 new schools, to construct major additions to 5 schools, and to air condition more than a dozen structures. 9 existing schools would be shut down. Critics point out that the district has already decided to sell more than a dozen former school buildings like this one, which houses the Native American Center. Other public schools in Oklahoma City are only partially filled due to declining enrollments. The number of students attending Oklahoma City's schools seems to have stabilized for now. So why spend millions of dollars to build new classrooms?
We had projected a drop of 800 students. That has not materialized. We think that trend of having our enrollment decline bottom out and growth start again is here. But despite that, you see a great variation from one area of the city to another. And it may be that enrollment's down in one area and you've got capacity in a school, but in another area of the city you've got overcrowding. And in the buildings that I'm recommending be replaced, we have a strong student population in those areas and projections that indicate that the students will be there for some years to come.
Payson emphasizes that his proposal is strictly a preliminary plan, and there's a strong possibility the proposal could be modified by the school board before they decide whether or not to submit that proposal to the Oklahoma City voters. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the School Administration Building.
The drug paraphernalia law is a little bit deceptive in that it does not make the mere possession of this various kinds of paraphernalia illegal. Before a charge can be brought and prosecuted, you have to be able to show that the paraphernalia was either used for injection or ingestion of drugs or was sold for that purpose. So a lot of people misunderstood that. They thought you could just walk in and these drug paraphernalia shops, and if the drug paraphernalia was there, you can make an arrest. The truth is that you have to have some indication, you have to be able to prove that the seller knew that it was going to be used for injection or ingestion of drugs.
The F.O.P. is busy making phone calls encouraging people to buy tickets for its Magic World of Christmas production. It's an event used by the F.O.P. as a fundraiser during the holiday season. But police are warning people to beware of con artists printing up phony tickets and trying to sell them as F.O.P. tickets. There are some ways of checking for the fakes.
Most of our people, I think now we've done this now for 10 years, are pretty familiar with our material when we send it out. It has the F.O.P. emblem on it, the badge, and all the phone numbers up there. The tip-off generally is if they don't have a phone number that somebody can call and check on it with. And of course these numbers, a lot of them correspond with the police departments, and when they call them, they will be talking to the police departments there. And they can check that number in the phone book with their police department too. And of course, if still in doubt, that's the best route to go, is just call the police. But
the F.O.P. says you may receive calls all during the year from people soliciting funds for different fund drives, but it won't be from them because they only have 2 fund drives, one during the summer and one at Christmas time. So if any other group calls and pretends to be from the F.O.P. at any other time, the F.O.P. says consider that a lie. Ed Stewart, Action 4, the F.O.P. Lodge.
When the second shift assembly line grinds to a stop on Friday, it will have stopped for the last time. General Motors will cut production in half by cutting the workforce in half. 2,600 assembly line workers will be laid off indefinitely. However, General Motors has worked out an employee benefit package with the United Auto Workers in the State Employment Office, and for most of the workers, the compensation pay will last for 1 year. almost making the layoff a blessing in disguise.
The majority of the people that will be laid off, I think we've estimated about 80%, will be eligible for what we call our supplementary unemployment benefits and the unemployment compensation from the state, which totals up to about 95% of your take-home pay.
Well, that's a pretty good compensation package. You would think that people would not mind being laid off if they're going to get that much money in return.
Well, I don't think anyone really wants to be laid off. You know, maybe someone might look forward to maybe a month, you know, with the benefits and so on. And but I think with the uncertainty of not knowing whether, you know, when you will come back, I think that's what really preys on people right now.
So on Friday, 2,600 Oklahomans will finish their last day on the job at the General Motors plant. When they'll return to work may depend on what type of car is built here. Right now, the X body is being built, but there is speculation General Motors will build the A body car here. That's a mid-size car. And if that is true, there may be need to recall the workers. But right now, it's just wait and see. Larry Otis, Action 4 at the General Motors plant.
Year-old Jim Borden developed a sore throat over the weekend. He collapsed at work on Tuesday. He was rushed to a Weatherford hospital.
How are you doing, sir?
Then later transferred to Baptist Medical Center when doctors suspected and then confirmed that he was suffering from spinal meningitis. Borden was taken to a special isolation area where he remains in critical condition.
Sir, you're at the hospital now. We're going to put you on our bed and check your vital signs now. How are you feeling?
The doctors and nurses who came in contact with Borden have been taking antibiotics to make sure they won't become infected with the contagious disease.
We need to put you on the heart monitor.
Spinal meningitis is an infection of the lining surrounding the brain and spinal cord. Without prompt treatment, the meningitis victim would probably die.
Left to its own course, meningococcal meningitis is probably almost a universally fatal illness if nobody interrupts the sequence of what goes on. It destroys brain tissue, it elevates the pressure inside the head, and gets into the bloodstream, causes shock, and eventual death of the individual who has that. With antibiotics, however, that can be interrupted, and if treatment's begun sufficiently early in the course, this can be prevented and people can totally recover from it without any neurological residual.
Dr. Lynn stresses that spinal meningitis is a very serious disease, but it's not all that uncommon in this part of the country. Each year, about 20 cases of meningitis are reported in Oklahoma, and they usually occur during the cold winter months. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at Baptist Medical Center.
Sonny Hayes, the man sentenced to die for killing a Muskogee shoe salesman in 1977, will appear in McAllister Federal Court Monday. Hayes will leave the state prison, travel to the federal building, and once again be asked if he wants a lawyer to fight his death sentence. Hayes has turned down similar offers in the past, although his mother has hired an attorney in an effort to save her son's life. Now, Hayes is in the middle of a confusing controversy over his mental competency. Doctors at the state prison examined him, and U.S. District Judge Luther Bohannon ruled Hayes to be competent. However, the 10th U.S. Appeals Court in Denver ruled the prison testing was not good enough and ordered another competency hearing. Who will eventually examine the convicted murderer may be the main topic of discussion Monday, because the results of that mental checkup could lead either to a new trial or back to death row. Larry Otis, Action 4.
Cheese Festival!
All kinds of characters come to the Watonga Cheese Festival, and they've all got something in common: a desire for good cheese. Watonga has a reputation for making great cheese. There's been a cheese factory in this small Oklahoma town since 1940. This Watonga Cheese Festival is really a big deal. People come from all over the state to sample the cheese and look at the displays. They've even got a choir here. These youngsters travel by bus from Jinx, Oklahoma. In fact, several church groups came to the festival in bus loads. Adults as well as youngsters have a good time here. If you don't have plans for tomorrow, you can bet your cheese you'll have a good time if you come to the festival. Ben McCain, Action 4 in Watonga.
I've been laid off before. I'm from Anderson, Indiana. I was laid off there for 8 months and I came here. Getting kind of used to it now.
I came from Michigan. I don't know if I go back. I don't know now. I had to be looking for a job and I don't know.
Yeah, that's the second time it's happened to me. So, that's all you do. Keep going. Thank you.
A lot of people are pretty proud of their dogs and spend a lot of money on them, so much so that they want to show their investments off. And for them, dog shows are a must. They are what they sound like, an opportunity for an owner or a trainer to exhibit the talent of their animal and to testify to the special communication that exists between a man and his best friend. There is a colossal show going on in Oklahoma City this weekend. Actually, it's 4 shows stacked one behind the other. Sponsored by 4 different kennel clubs in the Oklahoma City area, the shows give owners and trainers from across the country a chance to compete with their dogs in a number of contests without having to drive long distances between meets. The shows will continue at the fairgrounds for 2 more days. Then the owners and the dogs will go to other shows or just back home to groom a little or to find encouragement in a job well done. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4.
I think what President Reagan has done by cutting back Title IX and taking the teeth out of a lot of programs for women and older people, and when you talk about older people, you're talking a lot about women because they're usually left, not having worked for many years, they're the ones left behind without a trade and without their own pension plan and so forth. So when Reagan does these things, he's really making a great case for the Equal Rights Amendment, because we see once and for all that we must be protected under the Constitution, and we cannot be at the whim of a president or a governor or a congressperson who does not happen to agree that women should have these kinds of rights. So I think he makes a great case for the ERA.
And more women will be switching maybe to the Democratic Party?
I think Reagan will certainly bring the Democratic Party back, yes.
We've heard a lot of talk recently about the changes in the federal income, estate, and gift tax laws with the enactment of President Reagan's Economic Tax Recovery Act. But the Oklahoma legislature has also made significant changes in Oklahoma's estate and gift tax structure, which will become effective January the 1st of '82. Under old Oklahoma law, a tax was imposed on gifts in excess of $3,000, other than gifts going to a spouse. This has now been repealed, and the Oklahoma gift tax will cease to exist. Primary changes in the Oklahoma estate tax laws are 1, a decrease in the initial tax rates, and 2, an increase in the exemption for lineal heirs, such as sons or daughters or parents, from $60,000 to $175,000. For example, taxes on a net estate of $100,000 passing to lineal heirs under the old tax rates this year would be $3,700. However, on January 1st of '82, the tax would decrease to $1,850, a savings of 50%. Further, the dollars to be saved increase as the net estate grows larger. For Action 4, this is Ray Vaughn with Legal Briefs. A viewer says, several years ago I made a rather extensive will. Now there are some minor changes I would like to make. Can I just write them in and initial them, or do I have to make a new will? Well, the answer to that question is neither. Changes that are simply written into a will not be enforced under Oklahoma law, which requires that any changes be executed in the same manner as when the will was signed, meaning witnesses and a notary public. However, you don't have to make a new complete will. Law provides for the formal execution of what is called a codicil, which is simply an amendment that is usually attached to the original will. The codicil contains only those changes you want to make and refers to the original will. Remember, changes in wills must be formally made. Simply making them on the original will won't satisfy Oklahoma law. For Action 4, this is Ray Vaughn with Legal Briefs.